The abandoned hospital on the edge of town had always intrigued me. It had been closed for years, and the rumors about the strange happenings inside had only grown stronger over time. So, one night, I decided to explore the hospital and see for myself what lay inside. As I made my way through the dark and empty halls, I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of my footsteps echoing off the walls. I had almost convinced myself that there was nothing to be afraid of when I heard a sound coming from one of the rooms up ahead. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me, and I cautiously approached the door. As I peered through the small window, I saw a figure standing in the center of the room, their back to me. They were wearing a hospital gown and appeared to be holding something in their hands. I pushed the door open, and the figure slowly turned around to face me. As my eyes adjusted to the dim light, I realized with a jolt of horror that the figure was not human. Its face was twisted into an unnatural grin, and its eyes glowed a sickly green. I tried to back away, but the creature moved towards me, its long, spindly fingers reaching out to grab me. I stumbled and fell, and as I hit the ground, the creature disappeared into thin air. I lay there for what felt like hours, my heart racing as I tried to process what had just happened. When I finally gathered the courage to get up and leave, I noticed a small object lying on the ground where the creature had been standing. It was a tarnished gold key with the words "Morgue" engraved on it. I knew then that I had made a grave mistake in coming to the hospital. And as I made my way out, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following me, watching me, waiting for me to make one wrong move. When my family moved into our new house, we were thrilled. It was big, beautiful, and in a great neighborhood. But as the weeks went by, strange things began to happen. One night, I woke up to the sound of scratching coming from the attic above my room. At first, I thought it was just an animal, but the scratching continued for hours, getting louder and more persistent. The next day, I went up to the attic to investigate, but I found nothing out of the ordinary. However, as I was leaving, I heard a faint whisper in my ear. I spun around, but no one was there. Over the next few weeks, the strange occurrences became more frequent. Doors would open and close on their own, and we could hear footsteps in the hallways when no one else was home. But the scariest thing happened one night when I was alone in the house. I was watching TV when I heard a knock at the door. I got up to answer it, but when I looked through the peephole, there was no one there. I shrugged it off and went back to watching TV, but then I heard the knocking again. And again, when I looked through the peephole, there was no one there. Suddenly, I heard a loud crash from upstairs. I ran up to investigate, and when I reached the top of the stairs, I saw a figure standing in the darkness at the end of the hallway. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. I tried to run, but something grabbed me from behind, pulling me back towards the creature. I could feel its cold breath on my neck as it whispered in my ear, "You're mine now." I woke up the next morning on the floor of my bedroom, alone and terrified. I never spoke of the incident to anyone, but I never forgot it either. To this day, I can still feel the creature's cold breath on my neck and hear its menacing whisper in my ear. The babysitter. A young woman was babysitting 2 children for a couple in a large house. Late at night, she heard strange noises coming from upstairs. When she went to investigate, she found the children sleeping soundly in their beds. As she turned to leave, she saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. She tried to run, but the figure grabbed her, and she never returned home. The hitchhiker. A man was driving home late at night when he saw a hitchhiker on the side of the road. The hitchhiker had glowing eyes and a menacing grin, but the man picked him up anyway. As they drove, the hitchhiker whispered ominous warnings about the man's fate. When they arrived at the man's house, the hitchhiker disappeared, leaving behind a sense of dread that the man couldn't shake. The phone call. A woman answered the phone, but all she could hear was heavy breathing on the other end. The breathing got louder and more frantic, and she tried to hang up, but the phone wouldn't disconnect. Suddenly, a voice whispered in her ear, "I'm coming for you," and the line went dead. The cabin. A group of friends went on a weekend trip to a remote cabin in the woods. As they settled in for the night, strange things began to happen. They heard footsteps outside, and when they looked out the window, they saw a figure standing in the darkness. When they tried to leave, they found that the door was locked from the outside, and they were trapped inside with no escape. The mirror. A girl was brushing her hair in front of her mirror when she noticed something strange. Her reflection wasn't quite right, as if it was lagging behind her movements. Suddenly, her reflection reached out of the mirror and grabbed her by the throat. The elevator. A man got into an elevator alone late at night. As he descended to the ground floor, the elevator suddenly stopped, trapping him between floors. The lights went out and he was left in total darkness. Suddenly, he felt someone breathing on the back of his neck. The doll. A little girl received a doll as a gift from her parents. She loved the doll and took it with her everywhere. One day, she noticed that the doll's eyes seemed to follow her wherever she went. That night, she woke up to find the doll sitting at the foot of her bed, staring at her with lifeless eyes. The road trip. A group of friends were on a road trip when their car broke down in the middle of nowhere. They decided to spend the night in a nearby abandoned house. As they settled in for the night, they heard strange noises coming from upstairs. When they went to investigate, they found a room filled with old dolls. Suddenly, the dolls began to move on their own, and the friends realized they were not alone in the house. The shadow. A woman was home alone and noticed a shadow moving across her living room wall. When she turned around, she saw a figure standing in the corner, its eyes fixed on her. As she tried to run, the figure stepped closer and closer until it consumed her. The game. A group of friends were playing with an old Ouija board. As they asked it questions, the board spelled out a name they didn't recognize. Suddenly, the room became ice cold, and they heard a voice whispering the same name over and over again. They never played with the board again. The painting. A family moved into a new home and found an old painting in the attic. The painting depicted a woman with piercing eyes, and the family soon found that the painting seemed to move on its own. They tried to get rid of it, but it always ended up back in their home, watching them. The dollhouse. A girl received a dollhouse as a gift, but she soon found that the dolls inside had minds of their own. They moved on their own and whispered secrets to each other. One day, the girl saw that one of the dolls had been replaced with a doll that looked just like her. She never played with the dollhouse again,